Preparations continue for the burial of South Africa's ambassador to France, Nathi Mthethwa. Now, SABC News anchor Bongiwe Zwane and SABC News specialist correspondent Sophie Mokoena, alongside SABC News politics editor Mzwandile Mbeje, are at the Mthethwa home in KwaMbonami in KwaZulu-Natal. Let's take you there live.
A very good evening to you once again, Mbali, and to the viewers. We're still coming to you live from KwaMbonami here in KwaZulu-Natal. This as the hours of that, official funeral are really just getting closer and closer, and we will share some reflections, since the last time we spoke. Been speaking to a number of people, but interestingly enough as well, one of those that we managed to have a short conversation with, that is our specialist correspondent Sophie Mokoena, spoke to Philisiwe Buthelezi, and that is the wife of the late ambassador. Just they exchanged some words, and she will be in conversation with us about that. But also, Mbali, just this evening we saw, as we speak right now, there are some members of the African National Congress here in KwaZulu-Natal who are having a meeting with the family as well as some of the pastors, and they speaking about, of course, the proceedings tomorrow, how everything is going to go.
Once again, we have lost that connection to KwaMbonami, and that was SABC News full view anchor Bongiwe Zwane, just trying to give us the latest coming out from KwaMbonami. When it comes to the preparations for the funeral, we do know that President Cyril Ramaphosa has accorded the late ambassador to France, Nathi Mthethwa, a special official funeral category 2 with ceremonial elements that will be performed by the South African Police Service. And of course, he is expected to be laid to rest tomorrow evening in KwaMbonami. Let's take you back there now.
Seeing a lot of ANC supporters, ANC leaders in the province as well, people who would have shared a political home with the late Nathi Mthethwa. Let's speak about some of what they've had to say to you tonight.
Well, thank you very much, Bongiwe, and good evening to the viewers. And then, of course, they've spoken of a man who cared deeply about his organization, about the people that he served. And in fact, and when you look at the number of people who are coming here, obviously the party that he supports would be more prominent. But the sense that we are getting even from the community here is that he was someone really who was easily relating with his own people. So clearly the contribution that he made. And then I was speaking to a few other people who were saying a number of projects where community leaders needed to make. So he was one of the people they were able to rush to, and then time and again he will be able to either advise or perhaps intervene where possible. So here you are looking at someone who obviously became a diplomat, a minister, a politician, but when all is said and done, you get a sense that he was someone who easily lived amongst his people, and I think it's testament to what we are seeing today.
And Mzwai, legacies are often contested spaces, right? Because you do have the people of KwaMbonami who remember a son, who remember a man that was one of them. You do have South Africans who remember a politician, but also you have others who then speak about the not so glorious part of his legacy.
Of course, it will always be the case, particularly if you are someone who's very active in whatever aspect of life. In fact, in his space, you'd recall at some point he was the police minister. And then when Marikana happened, and a lot of questions centered around what sort of role did he play, because he was the police minister. In fact, Bongiwe, as recently as a couple of weeks ago, when the commission said, the Madlanga Commission, we had the Provincial Commissioner of KwaZulu-Natal basically mentioning him to say in some of the things that were happening, so he actually got frustrated by him. So yes, as a politician, there are things that are good that will be mentioned about him, but there are things that are maybe not so good. It will be a contested space, so those things will always be there. And then of course, and then he has passed away, and even that is still a question people want to know. So what sort of circumstances led to that? Because I mean, he was someone who was very healthy, who appeared very happy in the past few weeks, but here we are.
And earlier on, we were in conversation with someone who was his best man at the wedding and also one of the lobola negotiations, Dr. Malusi Gigaba. He speaks about how he was deeply concerned about the state of the ANC at the time and what was to happen. And I suppose it speaks to where the ANC finds itself right now, a difficult moment, that is.
Yes, those are the people who served together in the ANC structures, but also outside of that, they happen to be friends. I mean, that's why you're talking about him being the best man at his wedding. So they had that kind of relationship. But also very interesting, it's the issue of the state of the ANC. Here are people who many South Africans thought would perhaps take over the ANC. But look at the state of what is happening to the party now. I mean, in the past 30 years, not many people had even thought that the party would share power with parties that it was fighting with. But here we are. And when you look at these generations, someone like Melos Gigaba himself, Dr. Gigaba himself, Mr. Nathi Mthethwa, these are the people who had been expected that when this generation exited, so they would be the ones who would be taking over. But when you look at what is happening now, so what exactly is their role, especially those who still live behind? The fact that Nathi Mthethwa was concerned, so will people like Malusi Gigaba, Fikile Mbalula et al. Be able to then resurrect the ANC to what it used to be?
A mammoth task, that is. Mzwandile, I'm going to let you go as I ask our specialist correspondent, Sophie Mokoena, to come through and converse with us. And Mbali and the viewers, right? Sophie managed to spend some time with Nathi Mthethwa's widow. And they were able to talk about how she's feeling, where she is now. And Sophie joining us this evening. Sophie, a lot of us, even earlier on, we spoke to the spokesperson of the family, who Dr. Sfiso Buteles, who was speaking about the difficulties that the wife is also experiencing, processing what is currently taking place. You managed to spend some time with her. How was she?
Coincidentally, I spoke to her just few minutes after the body arrived at the house, after that prayer. And she was quite devastated. But one thing that I took note of, she kept saying, thank you so much, thank you so much, thank you so much, South Africa. In other words, she is fully aware that there are people around her, there are people who are supporting her, but also in the house, you have families from both sides, including her friends. As you know that due to his business acumen, she has lots of friends in the business world, and therefore they are here supporting her and personal friends. But as I pointed out, she was able to express her views, and yes, of course, sharing tears, but indicating that she does appreciate the support. I mean, I think right now she's trying to make sense of what's going to happen tomorrow. You know, they were there in France with few people around her, and now she's surrounded with many people. The friends of late former Minister Nathi Mthethwa, the members of the party, the ANC, the families from both sides, and just friends, as I pointed out, that due to her business acumen, Pilisile, she's got lots of friends in the business world. And you would recall that at some point in time, she led the National Empowerment Fund, which speaks to her understanding of the economy, finances, and business in general.
And Sophie, while she's trying to make sense of this moment, right, South Africa as well is trying to also make sense of what would have happened as investigations continue in France.
Yes, you know that the police service has dispatched a senior investigator to join the law enforcement agencies in France to finalize this matter in terms of the report. Many people would say, but why? Is South Africa suspicious, or South Africa doesn't trust France? It's not about that. He was a diplomat. You want to make sure that when you finally present that report as the Department of International Relations, you really close the chapter and you were there, you were able to ask proper questions. And the people who are better placed to ask those questions and compile a comprehensive report working with the French law enforcement agencies is the South African Police Service. And we know that initially it was said that it will be 5 people, but they decided to send one person who is still in France doing just that, speaking to the embassy and getting reports from the law enforcement agencies of France. And as you heard, the French have made a commitment that they will support South Africa, and they've been communicating. You know, even the family indicated that they are very happy with the investigation and constantly getting that update when they were in France. And I think now Pilisile being here at home and with the family, with the South Africans, with friends, it's getting much better, contrary to when she was in Paris, where you only had very few people around her.
And especially that time when she now even found herself alone, having to do all this administrative work. That's Sophie Mokoena there. We will be, of course, together again tomorrow as we bring you blow-by-blow coverage, special coverage of the funeral of the late ambassador. And you do want to stay tuned to SABC News. We'll start 6 o'clock and we will be on standby for you with all the latest developments.